Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today I'm going to be doing a Houston Astros trade deadline predictions as we are 3 weeks away from the MLB trade deadline, or just over 3 weeks away. As it was 3 weeks ago, it's 3 weeks. We were 3 weeks away. I think what was it, Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday that it was 3 weeks away. And now it's Thursday. Or almost Thursday. It's 12, so I guess in terms you could say it's Thursday. Almost there to the trade deadline, getting closer. And the Astros, my favorite team, of course, are one of the teams that are viewed as a team that will be a very, very big buyer in the trade deadline. They're looking for specific things, two things: starting pitching and a left-handed bat for the lineup, and most likely a left-handed bat that is an outfielder. I've looked at names like Cody Bellinger, Alex Verdugo. I think there's a couple other guys that they'd be interested in, but one of those names I just listed as of Alex Verdugo or Cody Bellinger will be one of those guys I will talk about in this video. So I have the Astros doing two trades in this video, and I'm gonna talk about what those trades would look like for the Astros and why those trades would be good for them. And then I'm also going to talk about what the team would look like when fully healthy, once their pitchers come back and once their hitters come, some of the current guys that are hurt, like Altuve, Alvarez, Brantley, and Urquidy come back, and then kind of talk about what the lineup would look like potentially going into the postseason for the Astros. So the first trade, Lucas Giolito. So this is a guy who's a great pitcher, has a 3.50 ERA, is 6-5 this year on 18 starts, 112 strikeouts, 105 innings pitched, only giving up 31 walks in those 105 innings. Has been really good for the White Sox this year. I think he'd be a great addition for the Astros, and honestly, in my opinion, I think he would probably play a little better on the Astros. The White Sox not a great team and haven't really had a great year, not that much of a spark there. And I think the Astros things would be different. I think, you got a good team, you're trying to win. I don't know how much that will change, how good he plays, but I think it's just not only that, but I think it's a good fit for the Astros, and it's a good fit for Lucas Giolito. And hopefully maybe a deal is able to happen. Now, I think, Giolito is going to be expensive, but not as expensive as he would usually be, because he's going to be a free agent. Normally, I would say the Astros shouldn't trade for a rental, but honestly, I feel like when you got some of the names that the Astros have on some of their starting pitchers, it's not like we need a long-term pitcher. We're going to have some guys coming back next year for the Astros. I mean, you already have Hunter Brown, who's going to even be better next year. You have Fromberg and Christian. Luis will be back next year. Hopefully, maybe Jose will still be here next year. Lance will possibly still be healthy. I really like what we've seen from JP France. So maybe the Astros do potentially try to re-sign Giolito, but if he walks, it's not like it's going to hurt us. So, I mean, some other teams might intend to trade for Giolito and re-sign him, but honestly, this feels like a maybe Christian Vasquez type of move for the Astros. And let's go over what I have the Astros giving up to get Lucas Giolito. Now, the White Sox are trying to get good prospects to bring in. Not only that, but they're kind of doing a fire sale. He's a free agent next year. I don't think he'll take much, and here's what I have the Astros giving them. Justin Dearden, who is in the prospect rank, he is the 7th best prospect in the Astros farm system. This season with Sugar Land, well, he was a guy for the Astros that did so well in spring training. I think he had like a 260, 270 something batting average with like 2 home runs, 4 or 5 RBIs, or maybe 6 RBIs throughout spring training. Was just doing amazing. I think he had a couple stolen bases, was just hitting the ball like a monster during spring training. He was a guy that the Astros were potentially considering putting him on the opening day roster, and he was also a guy that when he didn't get on the opening day roster, a lot of Astros fans were upset about that. And I think it wasn't a terrible decision, because I think Corey Julks has been really freaking good for the Astros. And so is Yainer Diaz as well. Those were two guys the Astros made surprising moves to put on the opening day roster. And both of those guys have been great for the Astros this year. But Justin Dearden was amazing for the Astros in spring training. He's been really well for Sugarland as well in AAA this year. He has 10 home runs, 35 RBIs with a 276 batting average. It's just been amazing. And he's one of those guys that I think he's MLB ready, and I just don't think the Astros have a spot for him in the MLB level. And he's a guy I think that should have a little bit of trade value, and the Astros could be able to move on from him. And not only that, but the White Sox are in need of a right fielder. That's his primary position. He plays right field center, and he plays right center and left field, and he plays one infield position. I think it's third base he can also play. And I think he'd be a good addition for the White Sox. I don't know how much he'll play. I do think if he goes to the White Sox, he'll be on the 40. I think he'll be, I think he'll be on the active roster right away. I don't know if he'll be a starter, which it would probably be, depending on how he plays when he does play. But he's a guy I think has a lot of potential in the MLB. But that's not all the Astros would send. The Astros would also send Sean Dubin, who's ranked the Astros 20th best prospect in the farm system and like the third or second best pitcher. They need pitching as well. And Sean Dubin's a guy who has pitched 3 games in the major league system this year and has pitched 9 innings. And in those 9 innings has 11 strikeouts, I think with like a 6-something ERA. That's not too bad for a guy who's making his first couple games. And then he got his first start, I believe it was against the Rangers, where he got his first start in the MLB. And in his first start against the Rangers, I think he went 5 or 6 innings against the Rangers. Only gave up, I think, 3 or 4 hits. It was either 3 or 4. Only giving up 3 or 4 hits in your first major league start against the Rangers in 5 or 6 innings is really good for a rookie. Against that Rangers lineup, how stacked they are. And I just, I think he has some potential talent. I think that would be a good offer. I don't see why the White Sox wouldn't say yes to this deal. You're getting a really good, solid pitcher for the future. Justin Dearden, a really solid outfielder and hitter for the future. Maybe the Astros throw in another decent prospect that could have some potential in this trade that they don't really care about, giving up to make this trade happen. But I think that would be a really good trade for the Astros to land Giolito. And then the second trade I have, because the Astros not only do they need starting pitching, but they need a left-handed bat. And I have the Astros trading for center fielder. Well, he plays center, left, and right, and also can put him at the DH if you can put anybody at the DH. But the Astros could put Verdugo at the DH if they want to, like efficiently, not like once, and never do it again. Like efficiently play him at the DH. Alex Verdugo, you got to trade for Verdugo, but it's at the cost of something. Here's the trade I have going down for the Astros, landing Alex Verdugo, and sadly the Astros have to give up Chas McCormick. I think the Astros have to choose between who's getting rid of Chas McCormick or Jake Myers. Obviously, if you have to choose, I'd take Jake Myers. I trade Jake Myers away than Chas, but I think in this scenario, you're trying to get an upgrade. Verdugo is more consistent. He doesn't strike out as much as McCormick does. McCormick has played 50 games this season, and in those 50 games, he struck out 52 times. While Verdugo, in his over 80 games, has only struck out 47 times. So McCormick has struck out 5 more times than Verdugo when Verdugo has played 32 more games than him. So, and not only that, Verdugo is a better hitter. He has a better batting average. He has a better OPS. Not only that, but I think Verdugo would probably be better in the Astros lineup than he would in the Red Sox lineup. The Red Sox, they got a solid lineup. I really like their lineup. They got the young guy and or not really the young guy. He's 29 years old, but he was drafted in 2022. Mustaka, I hope I said that right. Yoshida, he's been a guy who's been really good for them this season. They have Justin Turner. They have Kiki Hernandez, Jaron Duran, Adam Duvall, Rafael Devers, of course, Tristan Casas, and also potentially to come back Trevor Story as well. They have a really solid lineup. I just think, in my opinion, the Astros have a better lineup. When healthy, you have Altuve, Yordan, Bregman, Tucker, World Series MVP Jeremy Pena, Yanner Diaz, who's out batting, I think like 270 in his rookie year. Who have I missed? I know I've missed Jose Abreu, and there's probably a couple. Brantley when he's healthy. Dubon's been amazing for the Astros. He's batting like 282. The Astros got a better lineup than the Red Sox. The Red Sox they've overachieved this season. They're 48 and 43. They were probably supposed to be one of the worst teams in the American League. They've been really good this year. They're outside looking in the wild card. I think they're like seventh or eighth in the wild card. They've been really good. I believe they are seventh in the wild card. So they're one spot away from getting into that wild card spot. But I just think the Astros have a better lineup. I think Verdugo would be better in the Astros lineup, more RBI chances. Not only that, but in my opinion, Chas, who's been solid, 254 batting average in 50 games, 8 home runs, 27 RBIs, 790 OPS. I love Chas. He does really good for the Astros lineup, but he'll go through a stretch where he's playing great baseball, and then he'll go through a stretch where he's not. That's something Verdugo doesn't really do. He'll have a couple off games, but not as much as Chas does. And I think Verdugo would be a good addition for the Astros in the playoffs. And maybe getting rid of Chas McCormick could be a move that the Astros ultimately could really haunt them. But I think right now, having Verdugo instead of Chas McCormick gives the Astros a better championship. I think it gives them a better chance of winning the World Series, and especially with having some other injuries in the lineup, guys like Altuve and Jordan, being in and out of the lineup, and let's be honest, what happens if Altuve? Altuve is supposed to come back in a couple weeks, but what happens if Altuve gets hurt again, and this time it's in the postseason? Or what happens if Jordan comes back and he gets hurt again, and it's in the postseason? We're gonna need a really better, a better bat than Chas, and maybe a bat that's not gonna be, one game just absolutely killing it, and then the next game just having like 4 strike. There was one game. It was one game against the series against the Mariners where he struck out in every single bat. It was struck out in every single bat swinging. He was terrible in the Mariners series, and I know that's one series, but this happens all the time where Chas goes through this stretch where he's being an amazing hitter and stepping up at the plate for the Astros, and then he'll go through a stretch where he's not, and he's very inefficient. And Verdugo, and he strikes out a lot as well. And Verdugo, that's something he doesn't do. And I think he'd be a great addition for the Astros. But there's more details to that trade. The Astros would send Chas McCormick, who has been our starting center fielder for most of the season, if not Jake has been starting. And then you'd send Montero, which would actually be really good for the Astros. He's 1-3 this year with a terrible 7 ERA. Has been absolutely terrible for the Astros. And then they'd also send J.J. Meninchevic, a prospect in AAA who played 30 games for the Astros in the regular season last year with 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 210 batting average. And Sugarland this year in AAA has 11 home runs, 50 RBIs with a 262 batting average. And also in return, they'd get Verdugo, and they'd also get another starting pitcher, James Paxton, a guy who's 5-1 this year with 10 starts, 2.73 ERA, has 64 strikeouts, and has only had 14 walks in his 10 starts. I think he'd be a great addition for the Astros. Now, ultimately, what does the Astros team look like after this? After these moves, after the trade deadline, when healthy, and we're looking at when healthy. You have Verdugo at center field. You have Tucker at right field. Once healthy, I think you kind of switch off on who's in left field. It's either Michael Brantley, Yordan Alvarez, or it's either Dubon or Jolks, one of those guys in the lineup. So if Yordan's playing it in left field, and one of Dubon, Jolks, or Brantley is playing at the DH spot. If Jordan's playing at the DH spot, one of Brantley or Dubon or Jolks is playing at left field. I think it probably all depends on who's the hottest in the lineup. And honestly, probably at that time would probably the guy that would be probably the best hitter in the lineup at the time would probably be Dubon. But I think Brantley would probably have the edge, being a better fielder. Well, he's a better fielder than Dubon, but I would say Jolks is a better fielder than Brantley, but Brantley's a better fielder than Dubon. I think Brantley, would probably have the edge over maybe both of those guys, in my opinion. In the playoffs, I think Brantley would have the edge over both of those guys. But we'll see. And then you'd have that would be the outfield, and then catcher. I think the Astros later in the season would stick more to Yainer Diaz, and then the infield, Abreu at first, Altuve at second when healthy, Alex at third, Pena at short, and then that's it. And then pitching rotation: 1 Farmer Valdez, 2 Christian Javier, 3 Lucas Giolito, 4 you got Jose Urquidy once healthy, 5 Hunter Brown, 6 James Paxton. I like this pitching rotation. Sadly, JP Francis cut out. I don't know if he goes to the bullpen or gets sent to AAA, but ultimately I think this would be a really, really good trade deadline for the Astros, adding in Giolito, Verdugo, and James Paxton. But using your thoughts, Astros fans, I think this would be a really good deadline for the Astros, adding in Giolito and Verdugo. And using your thoughts, peace out, go Astros.